Don't you find it a tad sacrilegious to hold a man at gunpoint inside of a church?
I'm not the religious type.
And yet you believe in a monotheistic universe? No room for more than one god in your world? Isn't that religion? Or do I misunderstand you, Miss Groves?
My name is Root.
Martine is quite the go-getter.
I'm aware. She's trying to go get and kill my friend.
Shaw's making it hard for me. How about you tell me where she is and I kill you together?
I don't think she's gonna take you up on that offer.
Hey everyone, this is STG and welcome back to your weekly Smash Watch Guide. This is the weekly series where I go over all of the known Lumi rank events going into the upcoming weekend, and I tell you who's playing, what the storylines are, where you can watch, and more. And the first event that we're going to get into this week is, of course, Rise and Grind 2023. Now, this event is coming at a very important time in North American Smash, because we're coming off what's been a time period of a lot of activity in Japan for Smash Brothers. You had 3 majors in Japan last month, those being Mayasuma Top 14, Sumabato SB Ultimate, and Delta 5, and then just last week you had the 4th P-tier of the year, Kagurabi 11. And in the meantime, the largest NA events have been Riptide 2023, Rewired Fest, and Cirque du CFL 2. But all that is about to change as, looking at the next month, it's North America who's going to have 3 majors into an enormous tournament. You have the Big House 10 next week, you have Luminosity Makes Moves Miami after that, and that all leads up to Port Priority 8. But the event kicking all that off is, of course, Rise and Grind 2023. Now, when we look at seeding here, the first thing that jumps up is, of course, Mia and Gluto are the top 2 seeds. Now, these are 2 players who have been having a fantastic season, and they're both come off of huge event wins last week, with Gluto winning Rewired Fest over Spargo, over Mutace, over Light, and then Mia, of course, beating Cola twice to win Kagurabi 11. And the biggest story of this tournament is, of course, going to be, can NA defend against these 2 overseas titans? Gluto is seeded into Riddles, who has historically been a bit of a thorn in his side, as has Kazuya as a whole. So there's definitely potential for Gluto to end up in losers earlier than seeded. And then with Mia, it's a bit tougher, but it's looking as if Tweak is not going to end up making it out to this event, which leaves a whole open-end bracket for Debuzz to take there. And if Riddles is able to upset Gluttony, and then Debuzz beats Riddles as he has in 2 out of 3 of their most recent sets, then you end up having Debuzz and Mia projected for winners finals. And Debuzz is, of course, the only North American player that we know of so far who is able to consistently beat Mia, having beat him twice at Super Smash Con 2023. But that's not going into, of course, perhaps the biggest wild card in this tournament, MK Leo. Now, Leo is coming off a string of majors where he did decently well, but not up to the standards you'd expect for the former #1 player. This is actually going to be his first tournament outside of Mexico since Get On My Level back in July, but he recently won a big Mexican B-tier event over the likes of SkyJ, MK Big Boss, and Chag, and once he entered the final bracket, he actually 3-0'd all of his opponents. He won the event without dropping a game. So Leo has a lot of momentum going into this event, and Game & Watch is, of course, traditionally a matchup where Leo has had a lot of success against the likes of Meister. So Leo is definitely in contention to take this event. I think the other big thing to mention when you look at the seeding is you have Anathema. Now, Anathema is obviously seeded this high because he got 2nd at the last Rise and Grind event back in 2022. But this year has been a very different story for Anathema. After getting 9th at Let's Make Big Moves 2023 at the start of the year, he hasn't been performing quite at the same level as he was around this time last year. His high seed here definitely gives him the opportunity to make some big waves in bracket, but it also has him seeded into Deathspade. Now, if you're on Smash Twitter to any degree, Deathspade is a player you're going to be very familiar with, but Deathspade is also someone going to this event with a lot of momentum. They just made top 8 at Rewired Fest 2023, actually beating Mars to make top 8, and furthermore, they play Bayonetta and Sora, 2 characters who are both really strong matchups into Rob. In fact, when Deathspade played Rob player Atomic in top 8 of Rewired Fest, Atomic actually chose to go his co-main Joker against Deathspade all the way, but Anathema doesn't have a similar co-main to deal with these really tough matchups that Deathspade is bringing, so Deathspade could definitely get this upset here. Rise and Grind runs from Friday, October 13th to Sunday, October 15th. Doubles will start at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 4 p.m. local time, and then Top Cut will be at 7 p.m. on Friday. Then pools will start on Saturday at 3 p.m., which is 2 local time, and then Top 64 will start at Sunday at 1, which is 12 local time. And then if you have work tomorrow, watch out, because Top 8 is scheduled to start at 8 Eastern, which is 7 local time. And Rise and Grind will be streaming on twitch.tv/BTSSmash and twitch.tv/BTSSmash2, with a side stream at twitch.tv/Collision Series TV, a French stream at twitch.tv/human.gg, and a Spanish stream at twitch.tv/MysticSquad_TV. Then we've got to move on to Smash Legends 4. Now this is one of two really significant Central American tournaments happening this weekend. Smash Legends 4 takes place in El Salvador and is traditionally one of the most significant events of the year in that region. Now looking at the seeding, you can see there's a lot of Mexicans at the top here. You have Spargo and SkyJ as the first two seeds. Spargo definitely far away the favorite to take this event, but it's interesting to see him up against SkyJ here because SkyJ famously defeated Spargo twice at Collision 2023 relatively early in the year, but since then, Spargo has really seemed to have SkyJ's number, beating him at other tournaments like the B-tier Best of the West, I think Delfino Maza as well, if I remember correctly. And as the top two seeds, this is just another big opportunity for SkyJ to go up against Spargo again and see if he can recreate that magic from Collision. And then next up, I want to highlight Alan Duss. Alan Duss is a player who is, for a very long time, been theorized to be a really strong Snake player, but just has not gotten many opportunities to travel outside of their region. They definitely demonstrated their prowess back at Smash Factor 10 when they defeated both Zamba and Mudes en route to a 9th place finish at that Super Major. However, this event might be a bit difficult for them because they're seeded into Waka, who is another very strong Mexican player, a Luigi player who doesn't get to travel much, but they are in or near Alan Duss's region and they play often. In fact, just earlier last month, Alan Duss and Waka played in grand finals of two separate Mexican D-tier events, and Waka took both of them over him. I also want to highlight Wolfen here. Wolfen is the highest seeded player from El Salvador. They are a Banjo and Kazuya player, and although they're seeded quite high, it's definitely well deserved. They actually beat MVD at the last Smash Legends event, so don't be surprised if they have an outsized performance at this bracket as well. And then the last thing I think is important to mention is that there were a number of Guatemalan players who are going to be able to show up, but unfortunately they've been forced to withdraw due to their country currently fighting to maintain its democracy. This is the same reason that Shinemark isn't going to be able to make it out to Rise and Grind. It's definitely some unfortunate timing, but this is still a really big and significant event in one of the busiest weekends that Central American Smash is going to see all year. Smash Legends 4 will begin at 1 p.m. Eastern on Saturday, which is 11 p.m. local time, and it will be streaming on twitch.tv/SmashSV. Then the other big event to talk about is Claro Gaming 2023. Now this is a huge video game tournament, not just Smash, but competitive video games as a whole, taking place in the Dominican Republic. And the biggest story going into this is going to be Sonics and Capitancito. Now, these are two players who have a bit of a storied rivalry at the moment, both of them being ranked at different points on the Las Vegas PR, both of them taking sets over each other. Capitancito actually as high as they are on the Lumi rank mid-year, in part because of a Sonics win they got at an anniversary local event in Vegas. And of course, the Twitter trolling between these two is well known. But although Sonics is seen as far and away the best player in this event, the best player to come out of the DR, and indeed a top 10 or top 5 player in the game right now, Capitancito is still a really dangerous opponent for him just because of how many times they've played, the advantages that Meat Gunner has in the matchup, and more. And then looking at other factors at this event, I want to point out Toguro. Toguro is a Mario player who also plays Rob alongside Luigi and a couple other characters, and Toguro was actually #1 on the recent Dominican Republic PR, with Sonics and Capitancito of course sharing the number 0 spot. But Toguro is actually seeded to be out at 7th at this event, so I think that's a player you're really going to want to watch closely here, whether they'll be able to live up to their PR spot and beat this seed, or whether a less impactful performance here will mean shaking up the PR and opening up opportunities for other strong players like Chaz or Shaka. Claro Gaming will be streaming starting at Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern, with top 8 at Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern, and it will be streaming on the Claro RD YouTube and Twitch, as well as on the Claro TV channel. Then we have the C-tier events. These might not be all the C-tier events that occur this weekend, but these are the events that we know are going to be C-tier. First up, we have Ikesuma 1. This is the largest event happening in Japan this weekend, and the top seeds are Jugaimo and Takira, both of which are coming off of a bit of a rough Kaguribi 11, with Jugaimo getting 49th and Takira getting 129th at that event. And very interestingly, you also have a number of players at this event who are coming off of an exceptionally strong performance at Kaguribi 11, where they beat their seeds by a fair bit, those players being Lemazona, Ryuk, and of course Uame. Uame, as a side note, actually went Game 5 with Shutone at Kaguribi 11, so if you have the time, definitely go back to watch that set. It was very electric. But back to this event, the main storyline is definitely whether these top 2 seeds who are coming off of some harsher performances are going to be able to stand up to these underdog players who have a lot of momentum going into this event. I think Ikesuma is going to be streaming on the Kurobura YouTube channel, though I will update that link in the description if I happen to be wrong. And then the bracket is going to start at 12:30 a.m. EDT on Saturday, which is 1:30 p.m. local time. Next up, we have the Smashing Future 2. Now this is a Dutch event featuring Mr. R, Supasemi, and Space, who are the 3 best players from the Netherlands at the moment. Now the main story with these players, Space had probably the most success earlier in the year, including a top 8 finish at 95 King of Fields 3, where he got a Siski win. But at Terra, the big winner was definitely Supasemi, who got a Jogabu win with his Youngling, which was really impressive. So these are the 2 players you kind of expect to be in contention for the spot of the best player in the Netherlands right now. And then you have Mr. R, who is historically the best of these 3, historically the most well-known and well-appreciated player to come from the Netherlands. But due to a combination of low attendance and some unfortunate events this year, he hasn't been ranked as highly recently. But he's still obviously a very strong player. He He actually almost beat Gluttony at Terra. He went up 2 games against him with his Sheik, and Gluto had to reverse 3-0 him. So going into this event, it's going to be really interesting to see which of these players emerges victorious. The Smashing Feature 2 will be streaming on twitch.tv/H2O Esports, that's H2O_esports, and the bracket will start at 5 a.m. Eastern, which is 11 a.m. local time. Next, we have Smash North America edition number 4. This is a C-tier event in Canada, happening in Quebec, and it features a lot of talent from Quebec and Montreal, like Armadillo and Soar. Now, Armadillo coming off of a 4th place finish at the Super Elite Monthly Series 9 this past weekend. Soar, I don't remember his placement, but I think it was a little lower. Both of these players kind of looking for a bounce-back bracket here, but I think you also have to highlight Smock, who was actually the player to eliminate Armadillo at the Super Elite Monthly Series event, and despite being seated under him here, I think is a very strong contender to end up taking this bracket. Smash North America is going to be streaming at twitch.tv/SNA_series, and the brackets will start at 12 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. Next, we have Failsafe Fall 2023. This is a tri-state regional featuring a bunch of strong New Jersey players. Zomba is here, Guy is here, Syrup is here, Quandale Dinglingleton is here, but I think the really big name to point to right now is WebJP. WebJP obviously just got into Watch the Throne this past weekend. He was the last vote-in spot for that event, so he has a lot of eyes on him right now. But if he's able to make it to Zomba, Sheik is known to have a really good matchup against Rob, so WebJP could have potential to take this event. Now, Zomba has a really good record against WebJP historically, so it's far from a sure thing, but if bracket goes as seeded up until winners finals, then I think that will be a very exciting set. Failsafe Fall 2023 will be streaming at twitch.tv/NoPauseTournaments, and brackets will start at 1 p.m. EDT on Saturday. Next up, we have Big Cheese 4. This is an event happening in Southern Australia, and the top 2 seeds here are Didi and Strix. Strix, famously the Australian Sephiroth player who beat Chag at boss battles in the UK last year, and then beat Mia at Kaguribi earlier this year. And Didi, a player who mains Kazuya and Wario, a player who hasn't gotten the opportunity to travel outside of Australia too much, was going to in 2022 for the Smash World Tour, but that unfortunately didn't come to pass. But Didi is still a really strong player, and this bracket is an opportunity to prove that. I want to point out the 3rd seed here, Ghost. Now, Ghost's victory at the Game Expo earlier this year with Steve is commonly cited as the reason that Steve is banned countrywide within Australia. And though Ghost has his old mains of Daisy and Mii Brawler to fall back on, it seems he's also picked up a Kazuya since then. So with 2 strong Kazuyas within the top 4 seeds here, this is going to be a really interesting tournament to watch. You should keep an eye, of course, on other South Australian talent like Khan Gaming and Q, who are both ranked highly on the South Australian PR, and who also have the opportunity to take some names in this bracket. Big Cheese 4 will be streaming at twitch.tv/CouchWarriorsSmash with a side stream at twitch.tv/Brad_Taicho, and bracket will start at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, which is 11 a.m. local time on Saturday, and 9:30 p.m., which is 12 a.m. local on Sunday. And then the last feature to talk about is Uprising 2023. This is a Korean event happening this weekend, and though at the time of recording seeding isn't out yet, the top seed is certainly going to be Neo, the Korean player from Japan who's been making huge waves internationally. Now, as of recently, it seems that Neo is settling into sort of a proto-Bantam archetype where as he travels, he's getting fantastic results. He got 2nd place at Ace High, he won Pearl 2 in China over Kameme, and then obviously he got 5th place at Super Smash Con 2023 a few months ago. But within Japan, he's having a bit of a hard time being consistent, getting 25th at his most recent event with losses to Pit the Tet player and Akakeeks the Hero player. I think Neo is without question favored to win this event, though, just because of how strong of a player he's shown himself to be. That's not to discount the other players there, though. There's a lot of strong Korean players like Tanark, Linzel, and Ashen, and you also have Girly Teen Queen, the Bayonetta player from the States, who's been in Korea for a little while now, if I'm remembering correctly. Overall, this is a really stacked event for the region, and even though Neo is pretty strongly favored going into this, you never know what could end up happening in a Smash bracket. Uprising 2023 will be streaming at twitch.tv/KoreaEvents. Brackets will start at 11 p.m. Friday, which is 12 p.m. local, and then Top 8 will start at 11 p.m. on Saturday, which is again 12 p.m. local. Finally, going over the D-tier events this weekend. These are definitely not all the D-tier events that will happen, but these are the ones listed on the Lumi Rank TTS as of this moment. First, we have Namaki Road 3rd in Japan. This features Dio, Tsukasa, Deer, and Rima. Dio is coming off a really strong performance at Kaguribi 11, so he's highly favored to take this event. We have Cavalier Clash 3, an MDVA tournament featuring Squid Plumbers, Smub, No Tag, and Slushy V2, among a host of other players you probably remember from a Xanadu VOD or 2. You have Upstate Uproar 2 in upstate New York, featuring iModders, Sassy Flagon, and Son. You have the Flamingo number 3 in France, featuring players like Oxes and Lycan. And you have Fortland 2023, a Midwest event featuring players like Anthony Isn't Cool, Dice, and Risk Kicker. All of these events have their brackets linked in the description, so make sure to check them out. And that's going to be it for this weekly Smash Watch Guide. My name has been SDG. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at The Thief of Light. These Chessman sprites are by Nuga and Emuffin, and my ending theme is by Popsky. See you next time.